Financial constraints and ability to raise enough funds is one of the major challenges faced by international students willing to study abroad. And even for those that have been able to raise funds, some of them still struggle to raise up the balance of the tuition fee when it gets to their desired country. So I decided to make some research and come up with one of the lowest and the cheapest tuition fee I've ever seen since I've been making research on relocation abroad, and which I'll be sharing with you guys in this video. Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your boy again, Daniel. I currently reside in the UK and I share videos on how to relocate abroad. So if you're coming across my YouTube channel for the first time, you need to join the growing family. Please click on the red subscribe button to join the growing family. And for my returning subscribers, you guys are amazing. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. Studying abroad with minimal and very tight budget is very much possible, and this is all dependent on your ability to get adequate information as regards to relocation plan. So I actually made a video some time ago on if you don't have enough funds, how you can actually study abroad. If you want to check out the video on my YouTube channel, I'm going to put the description, the link up there also for you to check out the video. I explain how you can actually get admission easily to universities in Iceland, in Norway, in Germany, and spend as minimal as possible. Honestly, like those universities in those countries are very cheap. And while I was working in the bank in Nigeria, I happened to work with the International Settlement Division of one of the biggest banks in Nigeria, and I had access to like numerous, over hundreds university admission letters, invoices, and what have you for students going to different universities across the world. And I was able to really get access to a lot of information on what admission letters look like, how much people actually paying to study abroad. Because of the nature of my job, I was processing international payments and forms a transaction. And one of the countries actually stands out for me, and I discovered that people actually going to most universities in this country. However, it's not so common. Like, people are not actually aware of the opportunity in this particular country, and I felt, I never really understand why people are going to that country as a then. But recently, when I came to the UK, I started making research and I discovered why people are actually moving to this country, and I felt there's an important to share with you guys the information, especially if you want to study abroad. However, you're working on a very tight budget, then this country is where you can actually leverage on the opportunity in it. So now, the country I'm talking about here is Austria. Yeah, people are actually moving to Austria, and the good thing about moving to Austria is the fact that moving to Austria, you can actually work with a very, very tight budget. Like, you don't need to have hundreds of millions of naira, thousands of pounds to be able to move to Austria as an international student. Now, one thing is that Austria actually is actually one of the European countries, and it's a very small country. Honestly, it's a relatively small country. However, it offers so many reasons why you would want to study in the country. Now, one of the one of the important reason why you might want to study in Austria is the fact that Austria happens to be one of the wealthiest 13 countries across the globe. Like, Austria is actually very wealthy according to based on their GDP. So Austria is a very wealthy place, and it's a place you want to consider if you're planning to move abroad. And the good thing about it is the fact that despite being one of the wealthiest country, it also happens to be a country with a very low cost of living. So your standard of living in Austria is very minimal compared to countries like Germany, compared to countries like Norway, or even UK, Canada, US. Austria actually gives you the opportunity to live in one of the wealthiest countries across the globe and also still live with a minimal budget as regards to your standard of living. So cost of accommodation, cost of feeding is very, very low in Austria. So these are opportunity for someone who doesn't have a lot of funds to study abroad. You might really want to consider Austria. And one of the good things about studying in Austria is that most of the universities in Austria are actually ranked in the global university ranking. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, about 14 of the universities in Austria are top universities across the world based on global ranking. So imagine spending so little to study in a country like Austria, and in universities that are highly and recognized across the globe. So you might really want to consider studying in Austria. Another good thing is that in Austria, they've got like two intakes. They've got the September intake and the February intake. So some universities in Austria also take people up, I think, May intake also, but most of the universities in Austria actually from the for the September and the February intake. And the good thing about student visa is the tuition fee in Austria is very small. Like if you're going to public universities in Austria, you're going to spend as low as 400 euros as your tuition fee. Imagine converting 400 euros to the amount you spend, the currency you spend in your country, especially for a country like Nigeria where I came from. You're practically spending the same amount people are actually spending to study in public universities in Nigeria. So it's actually a place or a destination for international students. The country has been able to host over 87,000 international students in the past few years. So it's actually a destination for international students wanting to study abroad on a very low and tight budget. To apply for a visa in this country as an international student, you need to apply for a visa called the Type D visa, which is a student visa. And this visa is meant to last for a period of 6 months. So, but if you're coming to study a program, probably that's more than 6 months, probably a 1 year or 2 years master's program or bachelor degree program, then you need to apply for something called the student resident permit alongside your student visa. So this is the permit that's going to allow you to stay in Austria for more than 6 months, especially if your program is more than 6 months, obviously. So you need to also apply, unlike so many other countries like US or Canada or UK, where you just get a student visa for the duration of your program. But for Austria, most Austrian universities require you to get a student visa for 6 months, and if you're staying more than 6 months, you also get a student resident permit alongside, which you obviously need to pay for during the application process. Now, the first thing you need to do before you can apply for the student visa in Austria is to ensure that you have admission with an Austrian university. There are loads of universities in Austria, despite the fact that it's one of the should I say the smallest cities in Europe, or the smallest cities across the globe. It's actually a lot of universities that are top notch, like with global recognitions. So you might really want to consider seeking admission in some of the universities in Austria. The documents required for you to apply for the student visa in Austria include, the first thing is photograph. Now you need to have two recent color photographs that shows your full face. You must ensure that the photographs are clear with a plain background with a dimension of 35 to 40 mm. So, and also this next thing you need to have if you're applying for a student visa in Austria, you need to have a passport, an international passport, and this international passport must be valid. International passport must be valid, and it must not be expiring soon. So it must at least have a minimum of 6 months validity before expiration. So if you're thinking of studying in Austria, you must definitely have a passport, or in any country across the globe, you need to have an international passport. And the next thing you need to have is admission letter or proof of admission. So before you can apply for a visa, student visa in Austria, you need to have an admission from one of the Austrian universities, which I already explained earlier. You need to look for university you're interested in. They've got lots of universities. You look for university you're interested in, apply for admission to any particular course or program you're interested in. Now, after you've been able to get the admission, then you're already closer to the process of applying for a student visa. They've got lots of, most of the application fee are actually very small. Based on my research, I saw some of the universities in Austria that charges as low as 30 euros, some charge as low as 40 euros, 25 euros as application fee for you to apply for whichever program you have, which is honestly even cheaper than so many universities back in Africa, back in Nigeria. So you need to have an admission letter. Also, you also need to have a cover letter or a motivation letter. So now this motivation letter basically is expected to capture the reason why you want to study in Austria. What are the things you saw in Austria that made Austria a destination country for you as an international student, and also you must also explain your plans after completion of a program. Are you planning to get a job in Austria to help build the country's economy, or you've got the plans to learn in Austria and take back your knowledge and expertise back to your home country to build your country's GDP and what have you. So basically your motivation letter is required before you can apply for visa. Now this is really not so important if you're coming to a country like UK. You don't need to provide a motivation letter when applying for a visa. I'm sure even before you get your admission, your university is going to ask you to provide a motivation letter just to explain why you want to come to the country. But for Austria, even while you're applying for your visa, you need to provide. I think this is also applicable in Canada. Also, if you're applying for Canadian student visa, you might need to provide a cover letter or a motivation letter. So this document is also required for getting a student visa in Austria. And the next thing you need to have is a proof of funds. And this proof of fund in Austria is quite a bit different from that of so many of the European countries and also in US and Canada. Now, for the proof of funds, basically, you need to actually provide proof of funds to show the balance of your tuition fee and your living expenses. And the good thing about them is that most Austrian universities, this proof of funds is also a way for them to see if you need like a scholarship grant. Now, some of the universities provide scholarship grant, despite the fact that the tuition fee is so low, they still provide scholarship grants for international students. So you need to provide proof of funds to show the balance of your tuition fee, which obviously is going to be minimal compared to investing in universities in Germany or Norway, where they have like a specific amount. I think I made a video on that in one of my videos on this channel, where you need to provide, I think, 10,000 euros. That's about, if you're coming from Nigeria, that's about 6 to 7 million naira. They have been specific, and you need to put it in a block funds. But for Norway or but for Austria, all they need from you is just to show them a proof of funds showing the balance of your tuition fee and living expenses. And that document required for you to apply for visa in Norway is the proof of health. In Austria, rather, not Norway, in Austria is proof of health insurance. So you will also be made to show proof of health insurance. The health insurance should cover the period of time you wish to stay in Austria, just like the UK. UK don't ask you to provide proof of insurance. However, they expect you to pay for insurance, which is the IHS fee that we pay when we come into the UK. But for Austria, you just need to provide proof of health insurance, and they also require like a certificate to show that you haven't got any criminal record back your home country. So it doesn't look like you're trying to escape some charges in your country to run down to Austria under the disguise of being an international student. So they need a certificate to prove that you haven't got any criminal record. And one of the documents you can provide for this is a police report, which even if you're coming to the UK, you also need a police report at some point, because most of the jobs you'll be trying to get as an international student, some of the part-time jobs require you to provide a proof of funds, a proof of a police report from the country you've lived in the past 6 months. So you also need this police report for you to get admission, for you to get a visa to study in Austria. You also need to provide a proof of flight reservation. So you need to make reservation for your flight, and these documents must show the name of the airline and also the PNR, which is the passenger name record. So you need to provide this before you can apply for a visa in Austria. And also you need to provide proof of accommodation. They want to be sure that you have a place to stay. You're not going to become homeless when you get to Austria. So you need to provide a proof of accommodation. And one of the ways you can do that is you can probably just book an hotel for a week and provide that as your proof of accommodation. So you don't necessarily need to get an apartment before you can provide your proof of accommodation. So those are some of the documents you are required to provide if you're thinking of applying to apply for visa. Now, how can you book an appointment for Austria student visa in Nigeria if you're coming from Nigeria? They've got, now, when applying for Austria student visa, you don't need not to bother about appointment booking at the moment. VFS Global Limited handles Austria visa application on behalf of Austrian authorities. So basically, you're going to submit your application to VFS Global in Nigeria for you to be able to apply for that visa. So they basically help you to process your for you to process your visa. So all you need to do is just provide the required document to them, and they go ahead with helping you to process the visa. Next thing is, how much does it cost to get an Australian visa in Nigeria? Now, for you to apply for Austria student visa, you need to pay around €80. They spend euros in Austria. 80 euros for an adult and 50 euros for a minor. And if your program is going to be, now remember I said that the student visa is only going to last for 6 months. So if you're planning to stay for a program longer than 6 months, you need to pay an additional fee of 100 euros for the resident permit, which you need to apply alongside with your student visa if your program is going to be longer than that. So how do you get a form to apply for visa? Now, application for Austria student visa in Nigeria is done through the VFS Global in Nigeria, as I've said. So all you need to do is to download the application form on their website and start your application process. Now, how long does it take for Austria student visa in Austria to be processed. Now, the process of visa may take about 1 to 4 weeks after application and appointment. Therefore, you should get the required documents so that the visa process will not be delayed. So as you're going to start your visa application, you need to ensure that all your documents are ready so that after your appointment, you can actually wait for between 1 to 4 weeks for the visa to be out. So that's that about applying for Austria student visa in Austria. Honestly, Austria is one of the best places you can actually live if you're thinking of relocating abroad under a very tight budget. So you might really want to consider this. So this will be the end of this video. If you find this video resourceful, please click on the like button. If you have any further questions, state in the comment section and I will try to respond as soon as I can. If you're coming across my YouTube channel for the very first time, then you need to click on the red subscribe button to join this growing family. Trust me, it's going to be worth your time. I've got amazing content on this channel that you're going to find resourceful. And if you are part of my returning viewers and subscribers, and I just want to say you guys are amazing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the love. Thank you for all you do. I really do appreciate it. So this will be the end of this video and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.